Right. The Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape is setting the record straight on its Provincial Powers Bill. The bill seeks to give the province total control over its policing and railway system functions, and the party is determined to get it passed. But it's been met with some criticism, as you can imagine. Our reporter Nobesuthu Hejana was at the DA's media briefing for us. She joins us live now from our Cape Town studios. Nobesuthu, the Democratic Alliance in the Western Cape is calling for the transference of power and control over certain national government competencies. Tell us more.
Certainly. So the party in the province says it doesn't want to be under the failed state as the rest of the country, and in that way, it's also encouraging other provinces and municipalities to seek the same. So what they're calling for is the devolution of powers with their Powers Bill that was tabled in May this year. So they're saying that the railway system or the public transport, policing, trade, as well as the energy generating, it should be totally controlled by the local and the provincial government because it's capable to do so. Now, what they're saying is, at this stage, they don't want to be complaining to the national government, but instead to provide services to the residents of the province. Now, they're saying that this is not a way for the province to isolate itself from the rest of the country, because those were some of the concerns raised by other political parties in the province, and they were also being met with criticism, like you've mentioned, the ANC in particular saying that the DA has failed to address issues within the education system in the province. There are still pupils, according to the ANC, that are not enrolled in school, and they're also talking about the housing sector in the province, where quite a number of informal structures that have been encroaching in the province are still not being met or dealt with. So how can the party then want to have more while they are unable to sort of fix what they currently have at this stage? But Mr. Ivan Meyer of the party saying that at this stage it makes sense for capable municipalities and the province to seek for those powers, because we do know that earlier the president as well as the Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, they have been rejecting the call by the DA or the provincial government to have to seek devolution. But the province saying that it's more than capable and it wants to serve its resident. But let's take a listen to what Mr. J.P. Smith had to say about the policing in particular.
I think that the situation around policing is probably one of the most salient examples of where the cry for devolution is most notable, and where the public and many institutions have themselves joined into making this cry and adding their voices to those in government. The DA has been calling for devolution of policing powers for quite a long time, both for the province and for metros. As we find ourselves in an increasingly more complex crime situation and security situation, those figures as reflected by the annual and quarterly increases in murder and serious contact crime in our country. The last quarterly increases have consistently shown increases in violent contact crime, and Cape Town is not spared that, but we have made certain interventions which have offset those results, which I'll say something about in a moment. We, I think, have long held the view that SAPS's management in Pretoria has created a situation where we are increasingly losing our grip on crime, and that SAPS is unfortunately trapped in some very antiquated, unresponsive and unscientific policing techniques at the hands of national government. There are many good people in SAPS desperately trying to make things better. I get to work with many of them on the ground. But the organization as a whole, in terms of the resources it gets, in terms of the systems and the investments in it, have started to lag badly behind because the criminals are constantly making improvements in technology and systems, and the policing modernization has just not kept up with it.
Listening to that, Nobesuthu, one would almost assume that the DA is literally biting off more than they can chew. Some opposition parties in the province are against this. They are, in fact, calling it a cheap political stance. What was your assessment?
Certainly. So the DA is saying that, I mean, at this stage, their proposed bill, it's within the boundaries of the Constitution. So what they want to do is to execute those currently existing laws within the Constitution. It's nothing out of the ordinary because of the failing state, according to them. But we spoke to some political parties in the province, and theirs was just to say, although especially the Good Party, they're saying that they are not entirely opposed to the devolution, but the DA needs to be specific because at the end of the day, it is a political party. So should it be granted those powers, then it's easy for them to pass or enforce any other items that they would like to do without consulting other political parties. We also spoke to a political analyst who is dealing with local government, and he was saying also the same thing, that there is going to be a conflict of interest because at the end of the day, the Democratic Alliance is a party, although it's within the Western Cape, and it's the party that is in government in the Western Cape. So they should be careful of how they actually want to proceed with this, and as well as the perception that it will serve the interest of those who are in support of the DA, not entirely those who are not benefiting or who are currently vulnerable. But the DA is also saying that its aim is to ensure that service delivery is provided to all. And the question was asked whether, if the DA wins the general elections next year, will it abandon this, or is it just a political stance? And then they said they will be accelerating to ensure that this bill is going ahead.
Nobesuthu Hejana live to us from Cape Town. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.